So as it's 9 o'clock, I think we better get started. So first of all, good morning, and thank you very much for attending our session this morning. I know that it's the last day of Dreamforce, and many of you are probably on your way home later on today, so thanks very much for taking the trouble to come into the session today. Did anybody go to any parties last night? Yeah, a few of you. How are you feeling? You're looking pretty good. Yeah? Okay, well done. So obviously not too strong partying. Well, let's introduce our session this morning. This session is entitled Advanced Reports You Can Count On. We'll talk more about what exactly we're going to be looking at in just a few minutes. But firstly, for those of you who haven't been in one of my sessions before, let me quickly introduce myself. My name's John Oldham. I'm a senior instructor with Salesforce.com based in London in the UK. And I'm a certified administrator and a certified developer as well. Assisting me by driving for us is Brett Freeland, who's one of my colleagues from San Francisco. So she's going to be clicking the mouse and typing things in for me, because talking is about all I can do at any one time. I can't do too many things at the same time. Safe Harbor statement. I don't imagine you've seen one of these before, so I will spend about half an hour just quickly going through it. But I think you all know the message that this contains. Essentially, this session today may contain certain forward-looking statements about our current product and service offerings and our future offerings. These statements may turn out not to be true, so you're encouraged not to base any of your purchasing decisions on these forward-looking statements, but rather on the current features that are available in your edition of Salesforce. If you've got time on your hands and you feel like reading that in full, it's available on our website. You'll also find it in the slide deck that you've been handed when you arrived in the room this morning. Right, as this is a hands-on training session, for those of you who are fortunate enough to be sat in front of a PC, you will be able to follow along, and we encourage you to follow along with the exercises that we're going to go through this morning. In order for you to be able to do this, we need to get you logged on. So can I just ask, first of all, when you sat down at your PCs, you may have found that a web browser was already open from one of our sessions yesterday. As a precaution, could I just ask you to close down any windows that are currently open? Web browsers, anything like that. So close it down so you're back on the desktop. On the desktop, you should see a couple of shortcuts to browsers, Firefox or Internet Explorer. It's really up to you which one you go for, so double-click on the browser of your choice, and that should take you to the Salesforce login page, which I'm sure many of you have seen many times before. On that login page, you'll need a username. Now, each of you have a username that's made up of the same format of username. The format is admin@df09, reports you count on, followed by a 3-digit number. Now, that 3-digit number you will find on a sticker in one of the corners of your monitor. I believe it's the top left corner. Okay? For example, if your monitor says 010 on it, your username will be admin@df09, reports you count on 010.com. Don't forget the .com. The password today, it's a very secure password, so listen carefully. It's password 1. Okay? That's all lowercase, and it's the digit 1. As opposed to the word 1. So just have a go at logging in now. If any of you are struggling to log in, please raise your hand as high as you can, and one of our helpers in the room will come and help you log on. If I don't see any hands within the next few seconds, I'll assume that's a very good start that we've got. Any hands? There's a hand here towards the front. Thanks, Jess. Okay, no other hands? Excellent. Good start to the day. Okay, let's proceed. Right. So let's have a look at the agenda. Now, this session there's another hand just over here as well, if anyone has a moment. This session is an advanced reporting session. So we're making an assumption here. We're assuming that you're already fairly familiar with creating reports using the custom report wizard. So rather than go in and show you features within that wizard that you probably already know, we decided to go a little bit deeper than that. So what we're looking at today is how we can really enhance what we can do within the report wizard by doing a little bit of work beforehand. And that work involves formulas. Now, please don't all run out of the room, because I know formulas are not everybody's cup of tea, but we'll go easy on you. But the idea is we can use formulas in our data to prepare our data that allows us to really leverage the power of the reporting or the analytics engine in Salesforce. So we're not teaching you anything that you probably already know within the wizard. We're teaching you how you can prepare before you get to the wizard, how you prepare your data to really get the most out of reporting. So, the first example we're going to have a look at is a little technique called the Power of One that allows us to count records. And we're going to accompany that with an exercise. Secondly, we're going to have a look at a technique called bucketing, which allows us to summarize data that we might not ordinarily be able to summarize if we were trying to do it within the report wizard itself. Okay, so bucketing we'll have a look at, again with a complementary example there. And thirdly, we'll have a look at a trick that allows us to really enhance what we can do with historical data on our reports. So a formula that we're going to use that allows us to report on non-adjacent periods in time. Just to give you an example, I might want to have a look at what opportunities we've won this month compared to the same period last year, but I'm not interested in all the months in between. It's very difficult to do that just using the report wizard on its own, so we're going to have a look at how we can do that using formulas. So I'm glad to see nobody's left the room as soon as I mention formulas. Okay, and then at the end we'll open up the session for Q&A. Could I just ask a very quick favour? If you do have any questions, and I hope you do, can you just hold on to those questions while we're going through the exercises, where we're going through the actual session, and I will get to those questions at the end. So I'll try and leave at least 5 minutes at the end for any questions that you may have. Okay, let's move on to our first example. So the first example, or technique if you like, that we're going to have a look at is something called the power of one, which is a technique that we can use to count unique records in a report. Now, I know some of you are probably wondering, well, hang on, there's already a perfectly good counting facility built into reports. I run a report and it tells me how many records I've got at the bottom. Or if it's a summary report, it tells me how many records I've got within each group. So why do I need to know another technique? Well, let's have a look at an example here. And again, if you can't see this at the back or anywhere in the room, this is on slide 6 in your slide deck pad. But let's have a quick look. This is a report that we've got that's been built using a custom report type. Some of you may have heard of one of those. We'll talk about those in more detail in a little while. And what it is, it's allowing me to see all of my accounts that either have or don't have opportunities. We call this accounts with or without opportunities. So we have a look. We've got an account called Acme. And Acme, it looks as if it's got 4 opportunities. So these opportunities have been grouped according to the account name that they belong to. And you can see the little count in brackets there. In the blue summary row for Acme, 4 records. 4 opportunities for Acme. Fantastic. It's working. Have a look at the next grouping, and we've got Acme Inc., let's say a subsidiary company of Acme. And you can see, it doesn't seem to be that Acme Inc. has any opportunities. However, can you notice something strange? There's a 1 in the blue summary row for Acme Inc. It's almost as if it's counting 1 record. Now, that's because the count facility that's built into Salesforce and the report wizard simply counts the number of rows. It doesn't discriminate between what represent opportunities and what represent accounts, etc., etc. So in actual fact, there is a record there under Acme Inc. It's just that there's no opportunity for Acme Inc., but the account itself takes up a row in the report, which is counted. So if you were to have a look at the grand total at the bottom, the count of the report, the figure that you get there would neither tell you how many opportunities on the report, nor how many accounts on the report. It would be a pretty much useless figure. Okay? So to get around this, what we can do within the account object, or within the opportunity object, we can use a formula, a very simple formula, that literally inserts the number 1 into every single account or every single opportunity. That number that can then just be added up using the summary system, or the summary function within the report wizard, we can simply add up the number of 1s to give us a true total of the number of opportunities or the number of accounts on the report. Okay? So it's a very simple technique, but it's a very powerful technique. So let's have a look at a scenario that gives us a bit of context for this. This is a scenario that we're going to have a look at. Our company, AW Computing, needs to understand the average number of deals or opportunities that we have for every one of our accounts. We've already created the report, which is the one that you just saw, but it's not allowing us to accurately count up the number of opportunities, the number of accounts, and therefore work out the average number per account. So what we're going to do is the following tasks. We're going to create a formula that adds a 1 to each of our records. That formula also, because it's a custom report type that this report is based on, we need to make sure that that new formula field is added to the custom report type, so that when we get to edit the report, that will be available for us to include on the report. So more about that in a second. And then finally, we can just add a custom summary formula to the report, which will take the number of opportunities divided by the number of accounts to give us a very useful average number of opportunities per account. Okay? Shall we do it? Yeah, let's go for it. Okay. So hopefully you're in your browser now, so Internet Explorer or Firefox. And the first thing is we need to create a custom formula field. So if you go to the setup link at the top, Brett's just pointing out to you at the very top of your screen, click on Setup. Now, if you're getting a message about critical updates, can you just select No, that you don't want to view them now, we haven't got enough time, I'm afraid, and just click on OK. And can you see how it's opened up our Setup menu down the left-hand side? Now, the area that we want is in a section called App Setup, and it's within a section called Customize. If you click on the cross in front of the word Customize there, it expands that section to show you the sub-options. Now, we're in here because we're customizing an existing object in Salesforce. Now, the object that we want to add the formula to is the opportunities object. So click on the cross in front of opportunities, and it will expand that further. And guess which of those options that we're seeing now allows us to create a new custom field? It's early in the morning. I'm not going to give you any hard questions. It's fields. Click on fields. And over here in the main screen area, you will see two lists. If you scroll down, the top list are your standard fields. If you scroll down towards the bottom, you'll see a separate list of your custom fields. That separate list has a new button on it. We want to create a new one of those. So click on the new button, and it will take us into the custom field wizard. Okay? How many people have created a custom field before? There you go. You know what we're doing here. Okay. Right. As it's a formula that we want to create, let's select formula on step 1, where we select our data type, and click Next. It's a wizard, so we click Next to go on to the next step. Step 2 allows us to give it a label. In the field label field, let's type in number of opportunities. The field name is updated or populated automatically for you. That's the system's doing, so let's leave it as it is. The return type here allows us to specify what type of data we want to have as a result. Now, all we want is a 1 in every single opportunity. So the result, obviously, is going to be in the number format. So select number. Selecting a numerical format, we get a further option at the bottom which allows us to select how precise we want to be. So let's go for 0 decimal places because it's going to be the number 1. We don't want 1.25 or 1.5. It's going to be 1, a nice round number. And click Next. Now, step 3 is our Enter Formula screen. Now, this is the tricky part. Listen carefully. In that box where you can see Brett's cursor flashing, type the following. 1. There you go. Number 1. That's it. That's your formula. How about that? It's Friday after all. It's been a long week for many of you. Okay. Now, do we need to check our syntax here? There's a button underneath to check our syntax. I'm going to say yes because it's good practice. Okay. Check your syntax. All being well, you get a green message saying no syntax errors found. Okay. Now, ordinarily, it's also good practice to include descriptions. So you would say this field has been created to allow the counting of records on a report. Oh, I can see some of you are typing that in, which is very diligent of you. Just to save us a little bit of time, let's imagine we've already typed in a description. But ordinarily, yes, please. Today, no thanks. Okay? So click on Next. And the last couple of screens, field level security, which profiles or to which profiles is this field going to be visible? This is where you would choose according to your requirements. Let's leave everything selected for the time being to save a little bit of time. Click Next one final time. The final step of the wizard asks us whether or not we want this field to appear on the page layout. In other words, is there a bit of data that our users need to be able to see? Probably not. I'm looking at opportunity. There's one of them. That's really helpful. So let's just take it off the page layout. Nobody needs to see it. Doesn't mean it's not going to be available in the report. It's just not visible on the page layout. And then click Save. Job done. Okay, so that's step 1. We've created a new formula that's going to insert a 1 into every single opportunity that we have on the database. Now, just to save us some time, the same formula has already been created on the account object. That allows us to count up our account. So we don't need to do the same thing twice. Now, the second step, because the report that we're going to look at modifying in a couple of minutes has been created using a custom report type, we need to make sure that this new field is added to the custom report type so that it's available when we go and edit the report. So if you go back up, we're already on the setup menu, beg your pardon. So still on the setup menu, a little bit further down below customize, you've got a create option. If you click on the cross in front of create, you'll see there's an option under create called report types. Click on that, and it will give you a list of, well, before it gives you a list, it gives you a splash screen. Click continue past the splash screen, and you will see a list here of custom report types. Now, how many people in the room have created a custom report type before? Oh, that's pretty good. Okay, for the benefit of those who haven't, very brief explanation. Custom report type allows us to pre-select what object or objects we'll want to report on. So essentially, we can create a framework on which future reports can be built. We can also, when we create a custom report type, select which fields are going to be available for reporting on when a user is going through the report wizard. So all we're going to do here, we're not going to make any major changes. We're just going to make sure that new field that we just created, the formula field, is available on the custom report type. So click on the name or the label of the custom report type, where it says accounts with or without opportunities, and scroll down on the next screen until you get to the fields available for reports area, and click Edit Layout. And in here, if you scroll down a little bit, you've got two boxes. One contains account fields that are available for reporting on. One contains opportunity fields. What we want to do is add the new field that we just created to the opportunities section. So over here on the side, you can see what I call a shelf area. This is where all available fields sit for you to drag into the page layout. Now, just at the top, where Brett's pointed to, can you see there's a view? At the moment, it's only showing us account fields. Let's change that to opportunity fields, and it will show us all opportunity fields available. Now, the field that we just created is not visible there, but if you click on the next page button, you can see there it is, number of opportunities. So click on that and just simply drag it across, nice and carefully, and drop it down in the bottom of the opportunities section. There you go. That's how easy it is to add a new field to a custom report type. While we're here, notice in the accounts section above, Brett's pointing out to you now, number of accounts, we've already added that for you. So we don't have to repeat that. So any reports built on custom report types, if you do create new fields that you want to include on those reports, you need first of all to add them to the custom report type. Okay, so let's go up to the top and let's save that, and we can come straight out of there. The final task that we need to do is go in, find that report, and just make sure that that information, the counting, is visible on the report. So go to the Reports tab. You were wondering where you should go, weren't you? Yeah, Reports. Okay. And if you scroll down a little way, there's a folder in here called Unfiled Public Reports. Right at the top there, Brett's pointing at you now, there is our report, accounts with or without opportunities, that we built earlier using that custom report type that we've just edited. Go and click on the name of that report, and it will open up that report. And let's have a quick look. Before we make any changes, this is the kind of problem I illustrated earlier on. Acme, 8 opportunities. Fantastic. Acme Inc., no opportunities, but it's showing up with a count of 1. That's the problem we want to overcome. So let's go ahead and customize this. So back up at the top of the report, in the row of grey buttons, click Customize, and that drops us into the custom report wizard, exactly where we want to be. Now, because we want to summarize information, the first step that we drop into is where we've got a list of our numerical fields, percentage fields, checkboxes, etc. And in there, right down at the bottom, can you see there's the number of opportunities field that we just added. So if you put a tick, sorry, I've forgotten where I am, a check, against number of opportunities in the sum column, we're telling the system to add up all the values in that field on the report. If all the values are 1, essentially, it's counting. Let's also do that with the number of accounts field, which is a little bit further up. That's the other equivalent, if you like, that's been created on the account object. Let's also do that as well. And if you check, or click into that, check that box. Now, while we're here, that's all very well. Okay, so it's going to show me the number of opportunities. But what we want, remember, is to be able to work out the number of opportunities per account. So we need to perform a calculation on the totals that these are going to create for us. So how many people have actually created a custom summary formula on a report before? Ooh, not so many. Okay, today's your lucky day. It's another formula, I'm afraid, but it's basic maths. Sorry, math. Basic math. Okay, so click the new button where it says Custom Summary Formula at the bottom of that screen. Let's get this all out of the way now, and it opens up our Custom Summary Formula Builder. Let's give this a label. Let's call it Average Opportunities Per Account. And ordinarily, I'd encourage you to put a description in there, but let's leave that for the time being. Now, what format do we want the result to be in? Average number of opportunities per account. I've given you a clue there. Number? Yeah, it's not a percentage, it's a number. Okay. And decimal places? Well, you know, let's leave it as 2 so we get the full effects. The formula area down here, this is where we can select where we want this result to be displayed. Do we have it displayed in the summary rows, or in the grand total row at the bottom, or in both? So I'm thinking if we display it in the summary rows, each summary row, remember, is an individual account, it's going to just tell me how many are there for that account. That's not really particularly useful, or the average for the account. So what we really want is the average number of account or opportunities per account for the entire report. So let's just select grand summary only. And that means the result is going to be displayed at the very bottom of the report, not at the grouping levels. Not particularly much good at the grouping levels. Go down a little bit further, and now we have our formula builder area. Now, just where Brett's pointing out now, where it says insert a summary field, if you click into that, those 2 fields, those calculated fields that we created, number of opportunities, number of accounts, are available here. So scroll down to the bottom there and select number of opportunities. And when you select that, another field appears asking you, well, what do you want to do with this? Do you want to add it up? Do you want to work out the average? Do you want to work out the largest, the smallest? We want to add them all up. So let's select sum there and click insert. That's the first part. And to work out the average, so let's say we've got 100 opportunities on the report and 10 accounts. How are we going to work out that average? What are we going to do with this? Divide by number of accounts. Yeah, exactly. So you can either type in the divide by symbol, or if you prefer, you can pick it up from the insert operator button. It's a menu button. It's a phrase I've coined, sorry. Okay. So insert operator, you can pick up your divide operator from there. And then let's go up to insert a summary field again, where it says number of opportunities. Let's change that to number of accounts this time, as somebody suggested. We'll sum that again and click insert. So we're adding up the number of opportunities using that custom formula field that we just created. We're adding up the number of accounts, and we're dividing one by the other to give us the average number. It's not difficult maths, but it's not always obvious that this is the way we can do this. Always a good idea. Let's check the syntax. All being well, you'll have a green message saying no errors found. And we have. Well done, Brett. And bottom right-hand corner, let's click Done. And let's have a look at what we've got. OK, back in the report wizard, bottom left-hand corner, let's run the reports. And let's see what we've got. Click Run Reports. And here we go. So ABC Labs at the top, 3 records. Have a look at the 2 extra columns that are appearing here, because we told the system we wanted to see the count, the number of opportunities, the number of accounts. Not particularly useful information, but if you scroll down to the bottom of the report, not too quick, Brett. Oh, OK, let's have a look at the total that we've got there. So it's telling me down here, total number of accounts, 67. Total number of opportunities, 103. Divide 103 by 67, you get 1.54. So now I'm getting a very accurate count of the unique records, unique opportunities, unique accounts on this report, and I'm able to utilize that particular count within various custom summary formulas, so 1.54. So if you've ever wondered why your counts don't match up to the records on the report or what you think they should be, it's possibly because of this reason. Remember, the count function built into reports in Salesforce only counts up the number of rows. That's what's happening. OK, so what we'll do, back up at the top of the report, let's save that now, right up at the top. If you could click on the Save button, what we'll do, we'll save over the original that we had. So click on the Save button just next door. That just saves us having to type in the report name, description, and so on. And just click Save to overwrite the report that we already had. OK with that? You're very good at following along, OK? Nobody's crying yet. OK, let's have a look at our second example. Okay. Now, I love this word, bucketing. Bucketing. It's a phrase we have in England when it's raining a lot, and it rains a lot. Okay, it's bucketing. I don't know if you have the same expression here. Okay, but let's have a look at what this is allowing us to do. Here is a dashboard. On the left-hand side is a dashboard component that we've got on one of our company dashboards that allows us to see the number of opportunities for each of our products. So how many printers are we selling? How many desktops are we selling? How many laptops are we selling? Now, this is all well and good. The problem is, as you can see, we've got quite a large product range. So when you're grouping, as we are, this is a report basically that's opportunities grouped according to product. When you're grouping by a particular field that could have a lot of potential values, you find that your charts can be very, very wide. And the system doesn't have a lot of space. So what it does, it scrunches everything up, makes it very difficult to read. I mean, I can't read the full product names down there. And that's going away from the whole point behind a dashboard. Dashboard is supposed to be information at a glance, not information at a glance with a magnifying glass, okay? So what might be preferable, at least at the dashboard level, would be to have something like what we've got on the right. So rather than having it opportunities by product, we have it opportunities by product type. So how many printers in general are we selling? How many desktops, laptops in general are we selling? Much better to have that at the report level. If I want to see it at a more granular level, I can drill down into the report itself. Problem solved, okay? The problem is that information, that product type, is not information that's already on the opportunity. We don't have a product type field. So we've got a couple of choices here. We can create a new custom field on the opportunity, and we can get our opportunity owners, our sales reps, to go into each one of their opportunities and type in the product type. Is it a desktop? Is it a printer? Now, what do you think of that idea? Would your sales reps be willing to do that? Or maybe yourselves? Probably not. If you've got 5 opportunities, fine. If you've got 50,000, 500,000 opportunities, probably not a good idea. So here's the second option. We build a custom formula field, and we get the system to work out the category for us. What do you think? As we've only got about 25 minutes left, I think we better go for the latter option. Now, the formula that we're going to use here, it's going to be made up of the if function. Now, look at that. Don't be scared. Okay, let's break it down. Let's have a look. If we go on to the next slide, Brett. The if function in Salesforce, if you've never used it before, is very similar to the if-then-else you'd find in Microsoft applications, in Excel, Word, that kind of thing. And so essentially you've got 3 components. So the first component, the if component, is basically a test. We test a value in a field. So we say, if the product field on an opportunity contains the word printer, we're using contains here because it also has lots of product model information as well. So we're just looking for the word printer. If it contains printer, well, in this new field, just simply populate that new field with the word printer. There you go, it's categorizing for us. The third component of the if statement is else, which is, well, if it's not that, then do something else. We can either have another value go in there, but there are 3 more potential values. So instead, where we've got the else component, we just nest another if statement. So we go on to the next line. Okay, well, let's do another test. If it's not printer, is it laptop? If it's laptop, put laptop in there. Else, well, we'll do a third test. Is it desktop? If it is desktop, put desktop into that field. If it's not, well, there's only one alternative left. It's a service agreement. So we just put service agreement in the else. Okay? That's an if statement. Well, it's 3 if statements, one nested within the other. But it's a very nice way of categorizing data where that categorization is not already taking place on the record. Just to give you another quick example, it's very good for ranking or for rating things. Let's say we rate our opportunities according to their value. So anything below 10,000 is cold, above 10,000 is warm, above 100,000 we would class as hot, let's say. So it could be amount less than 10,000, cold. Else, amount greater than 10,000, warm, etc., etc. So don't just think you're restricted to an example like this. It's very good for ranking, for rating, and things like that. Okay. So let's have a look at the example that we're going to use here, and it's this. We would like to see our opportunities sorted by product. However, because we've got so many product families, we end up on our dashboards getting that very difficult to read kind of mess of a component. So instead, we are going to have a look at a way that we can actually group our opportunities together on a dashboard and in a report according to their product type. And to do this, we're going to create or use that formula that we've just done. So we're going to create the formula on the opportunity to work out the product type, to do the hard work for us. We're then going to go in and create a new report where we're grouping the opportunities by that product type field. Once we've done that, we'll quickly go in to one of our dashboards and have a look at how we can add a component based on this source report into our dashboard. Okay. Now, you know that if statement, how many people here like a challenge? Would you want to type that in? Or would you prefer us to give you a copy that you can copy and paste? Should we go for the latter? Okay. So if we go into the app, Brett, and can I just ask you, before we go any further, can you all click on the Documents tab that you find in your app? And on the Documents tab, find the Document Folders area. Brett's pointing it out to you now. And go into the folder list and select Shared Documents. And click the Go button, if it doesn't go there already. And in there should be a formula document. If you go to the left of that, if you click on the View action in front of it, that will either open it up in a new tab. Try it out, Brett. Let's see what it does. Yeah, if you're in Firefox, it will open up that text file in a new tab. If you're in Internet Explorer, I believe it will open it up in a new window. Yeah, which you might have to look at or find in your taskbar at the bottom. But either way, exercise 1 we've already done. I didn't think we'd need it for exercise 1, but have a look at exercise 2 and just go in there and select or highlight that exercise 2 condition. It's quite a long one to go all the way across. Make sure you go all the way across. A little trick, if you double click, is it double click or triple click? I'm not sure. I think if you triple click into a line, it selects the whole, it does, yes. So that might be an easy way of doing it. And copy it. So Control C or right click copy, I'll leave that up to you. So we've copied that into the clipboard. It's going to make the formula a little bit easier for us. Okay. Once we've done that, let's go back into Salesforce. So if you're in Firefox, it should be in the first tab. If you're in Internet Explorer, go back to the first window. And let's go in now and create the custom formula. So go back to the setup menu. And it's exactly the same path as before. We go into Customize, we go into Opportunities, we go into Fields, and on the Fields page, we scroll down to the Custom Fields list, and we select the new, or we click on the New button. No prizes for guessing what data type it is, so let's go for Formula, and click Next. And the field label, let's call this Product Type. Let's call it what it is. And again, field name is populated for us. Now, what's the return type? What date? What's it going to contain? It's going to contain text, the word product, the word laptop. Not the word product, the word laptop, desktop. You know what I mean. So go for text and click Next. And on the formula screen, or enter formula screen, this is where you can simply paste in that formula that you copied earlier on. If you didn't copy it, type it in manually, and we'll wait for you. Okay? All right, so just paste that in there now. Now, if you may have forgotten to copy the last part of it. So very important. Let's do a quick check syntax. If you do have any problems, if it is returning any errors, can you raise your hand and one of my helpers will come and help you. But I think I've trained you so well this morning that you've all got that. Excellent. Okay. So no problems? Brilliant. Okay, so let's go ahead now. Normally we would describe this field using the description box at the bottom, but just to save time, we won't. Top or bottom, click on the Next button. All profiles can have this field. Click Next again. And because we don't really need this field to be visible to anybody, only for reporting, let's remove it from the opportunity page layout. Remove the tick in there. And then click Save. Okay? All right. So step 2, or task 2, is now to create a new custom report based on this new formula field that we created. So back to the Reports tab. And guess which button we use to create a new custom report on the Reports tab? Yeah? Okay, so click the Create New Custom Report button. I'll stop asking those questions. And it takes us into the report wizard. So we dipped into it earlier on, but this time we're going to go through it from start to finish. But most of you raised your hands this morning when I asked if you were familiar with the report wizard. So I'll go through this fairly rapidly. Let's select, in the category list at the top, let's select opportunities. And in the custom report type list, or the report type list that appears, let's make sure opportunities is selected, the first one. And then click Next. So we told the system what object we want to report on. Click Next now. Now, because we want to organize these opportunities according to this new field, product type, what do you think? Tabular report, summary report? Summary. Whenever you want any kind of grouping, go for a summary report. Let's go for summary and click Next. And do we want to add anything up? Well, we're just interested in working out the number of opportunities. I'm not interested in the value of the opportunities, just the number of opportunities for each of our product types. So let's not select any fields to summarize here. Just click Next again. On the grouping screen, how did we say we wanted to group our opportunities? According to product type, the new field that we just created. So click into the Summarize Information by. Now here's a little tip for you. Because it's a custom field, it won't be in the top list. You'll need to scroll down to a separate section called Opportunity Custom Information, which is where you'll find any custom fields that you've created on the opportunity. So select product type in there. And we'll leave everything else as it is in ascending order. Click Next again. And where we're selecting our columns, to save time, let's leave all of the pre-selected columns as they are. Click on Next again. Let's leave the order of the pre-selected columns as they are as well. That just allows us to control the order from left to right. Click on Next one last time. And I don't really think we need to do anything here. Oh, current FQ. I tell you what, let's go for, change the duration to current calendar year, so current CY. I want to have a look at opportunities by product type for the whole current calendar year. And one other thing, do we want to have a look at open opportunities or closed opportunities? Won opportunities, I should say. What do you think? Well, the choice is yours. If you want this to be a kind of pipeline report, leave it open. Okay, or all. If you want it to be a closed report, let's change it to closed. So the opportunity status field, as Brett's doing here, closed 1, I beg your pardon. Let's make it closed 1. Because closed, as you probably know, is both closed lost and closed won. Not particularly selective. And bottom left-hand corner, let's see what it looks like. Run the report. And if you scroll down, desktops, not desktop model BD157,000. Okay, it's just desktops, laptops, 18 records. Probably easier to view, as it's a summary report. If you go up to the top of the report, click the Hide Details button. Because all we really want here, we want the top level. We want to see how many desktops, how many laptops, how many printer opportunities. Is it working for you? Okay, only 5 minutes work. Okay, now we've got one last task to do before we move on. We want to use this new report in our dashboard. So let's do a Save As. Click on Save As at the top. And let's call this Opportunities by Product Type. Again, a description is a very, very good idea, but just today we'll leave it blank. And in the report folder option, leave everything else as it is. In the report folder option, let's select, if you want to click into that, Brett, let's select dashboard reports. So we've already created a dashboard folder into which we're going to put all of our dashboard reports. And click Save. Okay. And our final task now is to go and add that, or add a component based on that report to our dashboard. Go to your Dashboards tab. And that's the story so far. There's that dashboard component that we weren't too happy with. It's very difficult to read. It doesn't really belong on a dashboard. So what we're going to do, click the Edit button at the top of that dashboard screen. And it will take us behind the scenes, if you like. I call it the workshop, which is where we can go and add new components. Let's add this new component to the second column. So click on the Add Component link that you see just at the top of the second column, as Brett is doing here. and it opens up our component edit screen. So let's go for a chart already selected for us. In the header, let's just type in there opportunities by product type. Okay. Let's leave everything else as it is in step 1. I'm sure many of you have already tried your hand at dashboard creation. Step 2, the custom report. Let's select in there the very report that we just created. So if you remember, we saved it into a folder called Dashboards Reports, which is down towards the bottom of that list, and we called it Opportunities by Product Type. So select that. And step 3 is just where we can go and select the type of chart that we want. I'm going to leave the settings as they are. I'm going to leave it as a vertical column chart. Again, this isn't really a dashboard session, so I'll assume that you've already had some experience with dashboards. If not, you should have come to one of my sessions earlier in the week. Okay. Click the Save button at the bottom, and that will then push that component into our dashboard. And just at the top, before we all stand back and go, ooh, just click the Done button, and that will take it back out of the workshop and back into the showroom. So there you can see, very similar report, but we've created a custom field to allow us to group at a much higher level, much less granular level, which is the kind of approach that you want to think about adapting on your dashboards. Much easier to get an overall view of what we're selling by product type than by product itself. Successful? Okay, perfect. Now that leaves us about, just under 10 minutes, which should be enough time, to have a look at our third and final example. So Brett, if we can go back to the slide deck. And the third example is this, reporting on historical data. Now, Salesforce reports, the report wizard, is very good at allowing us to report on data over different periods of time. So, for example, if I want to see the value of my won opportunities this month and the same period last year, I can do that. But what do I also get? I get all the months in between, don't I? Salesforce, the reports as it stands, the report wizard, only allows us to report on adjacent periods in time. So it can be this month and a year ago, but I also have to pick up everything in between, because it only allows me to select a range. Okay? Sometimes, however, you might not want a range. You might want to be able to report on 2 or even 3 or 4 non-adjacent periods in time. So I just want to see this month and the same period last year, or this quarter and the same quarter last year. So anyone ever had that requirement? Yeah, some of you have, okay? And there's your boss ringing up to just ask, can I explain it in a little bit more detail? Okay, so the way we're going to do this, again, it's not something we can do at the report wizard level. It's something we do beforehand on the actual records themselves. We're going to build another formula using the year and month functions. Now, I'll go into this in a little bit more detail in just a second, but the year and month functions, this allows us to work out the difference between the month today and the month that we have in a close date of an opportunity. So, for example, if I've got an opportunity that's due to close today, the difference between the month today and the month on the close date of the opportunity is 0. There is no difference. Okay? However, if this formula returns me a value of -12, essentially, if I've got it set up right, it's telling me that the close date of that opportunity is -12 months ago. 12 months ago, in other words. So what we can do, using some filtering, we can just tell the system, well, show me everything with a 0 month to close value and everything with a -12. That's this month opportunities and the same period a year ago's opportunities. Okay? It will become more obvious in just a few moments. But let's have a very quick breakdown of the year and month functions, just so you understand how they work. If you go on to the next slide, Brett. Now, the year function is followed by a date field. And all it simply does, it looks at a particular date and it returns the year in the 4-digit value. So if we have a look at an example, let's imagine we have an opportunity with a close date of the 15th of October, 2008. If we perform the year function on that close date, we get 2008. If we perform the year function on the function today, which returns today's dates, which is November, it gives us, which is 2009, it gives us 2009. In our formula, we subtract one from the other, we multiply it by 12, and it gives us the difference in months. The problem with that difference in months, -12, is to the nearest year, isn't it? That's not particularly helpful. So we need to expand that a little bit. So we can also use the month function on the same 2 dates. The month function simply returns a value of 1 to 12, depending on the month. So in our example, it would return the value 10. If we apply the same function to today, it returns the value 11. Subtract one from the other, we get -1. Add them all up, we get -13. So that essentially is telling me that close date opportunity, or that close date, was 13 months ago. I can create a filter in my report that says, show me everything 13 months ago. Or everything 1 month ago. There's your 2 periods in time separated by a year. Making sense? Okay. So again, let's go in and have a look at our final example. And it's this. We want to be able to compare sales for this month, last month, and the previous month with the same 3 months in the previous year. The way we're going to do this is we're going to create a custom formula field to calculate that months to close figure, so minus 12, minus 13. And then we're just going to go in and build a quick report that actually utilizes that particular figure, or displays that particular figure. Okay? So I'm just going to check my watch, see how we're doing for time. I think we've got about 5 minutes, which I think is just about right. Perfect. Okay. So our final example, if you like to go back into Salesforce and everyone else, ready to follow along. Same as before, let's go to the Setup menu and create this new custom formula field on the opportunity. So Setup, and as before, Customize, Opportunities, Fields. It should remain open. It remembers where you were last when you were on the Setup menu. Scroll down to the second list on that page and click the New button. And, okay, now what I should have said, so I'll do it now before I forget. Before we go any further, can you just make your way back to that text file that you opened up? So remember in Firefox it should be a second tab. In Internet Explorer you might have to find it in your taskbar at the bottom of the screen. And it's exercise 3, and again, just copy the formula in exercise 3. Aren't you glad we provided these to copy? Okay, so just highlight that, right-click and select Copy or Control-C. And then back into Salesforce. So I should have told you to do that earlier. Apologies. Okay, meanwhile, back in Salesforce, let's select Formula. So the data type is Formula. Click Next. And let's give the field label the words months to close. So essentially the difference between today's month and the month of the close date of the particular opportunities on the report. And what return type do you think we need? Number? Sounds good to me. Yeah, let's go for number return type. How many decimal places? Yeah, we only want it to the nearest month. So let's go for 0 decimal places and click Next. Okay, and here we go. So again, isn't it nice that we can just simply paste? It doesn't always work like that. Okay, so just paste the formula that you copied into the months to close formula area. And again, because we've copied it, let's make sure we haven't left out a bracket or parentheses or anything. Please just do a quick check syntax at the bottom. And all being well, no syntax errors. Please raise your hand if you've got a syntax error. No, oh, you're very good. Okay. Description, yes please, if we had more time. But let's click on Next again. And available to all profiles, and Next again. And finally, it's not something on the last step. So Next again, sorry Brett. It's not something we want our end users to be able to see in an opportunity, but we do want to be able to see it on our reports. So let's remove it from the page layout. It will still be available on the report, and click Save. Okay, I know it's very sad. It's our last example report that we're going to build. So let's go back to the Reports tab and create new custom report one final time, and we'll go through the wizard as before. So in the drop-down at the top, the report type category, let's select Opportunities again. And Opportunities should already be selected because it's top of the next list of report types. And click Next. And what should we go for? Well, because what we want to do, we want to group our opportunities according to the close date, don't we? Okay. So, what do you think? Summary report, exactly. Okay, click on Next again. Sorry, I didn't hear you. I was getting distracted there. Okay. Again, this is where we can see all of the data. This allows us to set what fields do we want to have summarized at either the summary level, the blue summary rows, and at the grand total level. So let's just click Amount, because we obviously want to be able to see the amounts that we're closing for each of those months that we want to report on. And click Next again. And Summarize Information by. What are we going to go for, Brett? Close dates. And because we're organizing them by close dates, make sure that you do your group dates by. This only becomes available when it's a date field that you're summarizing by. And it allows you to say, okay, do I want to see grouped together all opportunities closing on the same day, the same week, the same month, etc. Let's go for calendar month, because we tend to measure things on a month-by-month or period-by-period basis. And click on Next again. Let's leave all the default fields as they are, and click on Next again. And we'll leave the default order as it is as well, and click on Next again. There's one final thing we need to do here. On step 6, click on Next again, Brett, there you go. On step 6, let's have a look at what we've got here. Again, when we create a custom report in Salesforce, it tends to default to the current fiscal quarter, which might or might not be what you need. So let's make the duration Infinite, because we're going to use a filter down here in the advanced filters area to actually tell the system only shows opportunities closing with a 0 months to close or a minus 12 months to close, etc. You've got to be careful with your standard filters and your advanced filters. Be careful that they don't kind of counteract one another, okay? Because it is very easy to do. Opportunity status, just at the top there, let's just concentrate on closed won opportunities. And then finally, in the advanced filters area, the field we're going to go for is that new months to close field that we just created. So select that. Remember again, it's a custom field, so you're going to find it a little bit further down the list in the opportunities custom information area. Let's go for equals. And the value, well, just to remind you, we want to be able to see opportunities closed this month, last month, and the month before. So anything with a close date of this month will have a months to close value of 0. So let's put a 0 in there. But we also want to say, we want to see 0, or if we want to see things that closed last month, -1. Are you all familiar with the way that we can use a comma here? The comma is actually an operator. It's the OR operator. So if we say 0, comma, -1, that's show me all opportunities where the months to close is 0 or -1, etc. So let's build this up. Let's go for -2 as well. That's the previous month. And then we'll jump a year by adding 12 to those first 3 digits, or adding -12, I should say. So let's go for -12, comma, -13, comma, -14. Make sure you've got all the commas in there. Make sure you've got all the minuses. So just to tell you, we're telling the system shows all opportunities closing this month, last month, the previous month, and the same 3 periods a year ago. Nothing in between. We're not interested in the stuff in between. And shall we do it? Let's go for it. Bottom left-hand corner, let's click Run Report and see what we get. Now, probably a good idea, just to make more sense of this, let's hide the details, because we're interested in the totals per month. And you can see we've got October, November 2008 compared to October, November 2009. In case you're wondering why September's not there, no data, okay? Very difficult for us to get a continuous set of data when we're setting up these orgs for practice. So forgive us, but it's the idea that's important, okay? Now, I'm going to leave it up to you to go in and create a beautiful column chart or a line chart that allows you to go in and look at that information. But again, just to recap, there's nothing there that's new in the report wizard that we've looked at. All we've done is we've had a look at a few techniques where we can simply do the preparation work beforehand by using formulas, and it really, if you think, it opens up a whole new world of what we can do within the report wizard. Okay, so we can go back into the PowerPoints for a second. Please don't head off just yet, because there's a few other things I want to just quickly talk about, and also remember I'm going to open up the session for Q&A. But just to remind you, what we've covered today is part of the training offerings that we have in Salesforce. So whether you're an administrator or a developer, just please be aware that there is a training path for you. Now, the campground is still open. It's open until 11:30 this morning, and I'm sure many of you have already been out there, but please go and visit the success area where you'll see my training and certification team, or members of the training and certification team, where you can find more information about our training catalogue, the training courses that we offer, Premier training, and so on. So if you are interested in taking further training with us, please do go and visit my colleagues before we all pack up at 11:30, so make sure you get in there. Okay. Also, if we go on to the next slide, could I just ask you, if you're in front of, and please don't go in, I know you've probably got other sessions, but I have made sure that we've got enough time to do this. If you're in front of a PC, I'd be very grateful if you could take just 2 minutes, that's all it will take, to just give us your feedback on how you found the last hour, or just under an hour, okay? And what you'll need to do, if Brett will show us, if you go into Salesforce, go to your Home tab, and on the Home tab, on the sidebar, if you scroll down towards the bottom, Brett's pointing at you now, there's a course survey link. If you click on that, in a new window, it will open up the course survey. The only thing I can really help you with is question number 1. And it asks about the report or the session that we're on. And it's the very first one because it's the most important one and you're the best. Okay? Notice the timing of my comments here. You're wonderful people. Advanced reports you can count on. The rest is up to you. But yeah, please give us any feedback, any comments that you would like to make about how you found that session. I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. And if you're really enthusiastic, the person sitting next to you who hasn't had a chance to practice on the PC, you could let them fill in a survey as well. It's up to you if you want to give us your feedback. When you've done that, I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. If you're having any trouble with the survey, please raise your hand. One of my helpers will help you. And as soon as you're done, I'll wait a couple of minutes. As soon as you're done, the mic's there in the middle of the room, so you get to be a celebrity for a couple of minutes. Oh, and yeah, I've just been, and we've got I've forgotten. Alison, I beg your pardon. Yeah. Even if you can't manage getting all the way over to the campground, we've got one of our team from training and certification, Alison, standing. Can you raise your hand and wave around, Alison? There she is at the back of the room. So if you've got any questions about training but you don't fancy going all the way over to the campground, Alison's more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you for reminding me. I completely forgot. Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. So for those of you who have to head off, thank you very much for attending early in the morning. Enjoy the rest of Dreamforce. Not much left now, but have a great time. Safe journey home. And like I say, I'll wait a couple of minutes and then we'll answer some questions if you have them. Okay, I've got two. I know some of you are heading off to other sessions and so on, so I've got the mic now, so I'm going to take a few questions. We've only got about 5 minutes or so, but we'll start with the first question.
I just want to know, is there any limitations to the if statement, how many ifs you can actually put in there?
Okay. The question was, is there any limit to the number of ifs that you can put into a statement? That's a very good question. Now, there is a limit, and I believe there's a character limit to formulas, which I believe is 32,000 characters. So you're pretty much unlimited number of if statements that you can put in there, but obviously the more you have in there, the longer the report is going to take to generate, because it's got to go in and filter all of that data. Are you going to correct me on this? Sorry, correction. This is why we have a technical person in the room from Premier Support. But I think a good advertisement for Premier Support. I've just been informed it's a 5,000 limit. That's 5,000 characters, slight difference, so thank you for correcting me. It's a 5,000 character limit, but I defy you to use 5,000 characters. That's going to be, but you're probably thinking, well, I've got a very long pick list. Is that why you're worried that you've got a very long pick list or a very long? Oh, I see. Right. Okay. Oh, I see. So is it 5,000 on workflow approval as well? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, yeah.
Well, the 32,000 reference that he made is actually the back-end limit. It's the limit to the length of the SQL statement.
Yeah.
So, but as far as the text that's actually entered into the application, it is 5,000.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to confirm that, the 32,000 I quoted is the maximum length of the SQL statement, but the actual amount of characters that you can physically type in is 5,000. So I knew I got the figure from somewhere. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, it's working.
When are we going to see floating headers on summary and matrix reports?
That's a question I've heard come up earlier during the week as well. Floating summary or floating headers, as you're probably aware, are available on tabular reports at the moment, but not on summary, not on matrix reports. The question was, when are they going to be available? And we're not entirely sure. We're not sure if it's on the roadmap. We know a lot of people are asking about it. We know a lot of ideas have been put forward on ideas as well. So I'm afraid the answer is watch this space. We can't give you a definite answer, I'm afraid. But yeah, if I had a penny, etc., etc. A good question. Thanks for the question.
Can you do roll-ups or summary fields on number of contacts on an op and a number of products on an op?
Number of contacts and the number of products on
On an opportunity.
Okay. Now, the roll-up summary field only works where there's a master detail relationship, okay? So, obviously it works with opportunity. If you want to count up the number of opportunities and have that total displayed on the account, at the account level, then it works for that. In terms of the relationship between the opportunity and the contact, or the account and the contact, or the opportunity, it's not a must. Is it a must?
Well, on an opportunity, how many contact roles are there, and how many products are counted?
I want to say yes. I'm not absolutely sure. I know for the opportunities and products you can.
Yeah.
For the contact roles, it's a sticky relationship, as it's a secondary relationship that acts as a many-to-many between the opportunities and the contacts.
Yeah.
So it is iffy, but
Yeah. A bit.
to be honest, I'm really not sure for the relationship between the opportunities and contact roles. But just to confirm, opportunities with products can be calculated via roll-up summary field.
Okay. Thanks for the question. Okay. Any other, I think we've got, how are we doing for time? We might have just time for one more question, but I can hang around. There you go.
I'm just wondering if there's a way to report on the actual fields within an opportunity and the usage. So we're completely out of fields, but I want to see if all of them are being used.
So you want to be able to see which fields are empty?
Well, yeah, if they're actually, because there's so many people who request fields, they may not necessarily have ever used them.
You're just looking for a method to identify the usage of not necessarily historical fields, but all fields, just identify
Yes.
whether or not
Yeah.
it would be beneficial for them to be removed, or whether it's
Yeah.
Right.
So
So
the
we're out of
the question was, is it possible to see whether or not fields are being used? And I think, well, my simple answer, and I'll pass it over to you in a second, would be you create a filter in the report that filters on that field, and you just leave the value blank, and that will give you a list of all records, and you can count those records. So, like, we've got 10,000 opportunities. In only 1,000 of them is that field being completed. So, that was my answer. I don't know if anyone, James, you want to?
The recommendation I would have the recommendation I would have is very similar, but instead of just filtering upon them, I would just create a report for that object for records that were created over created or last modified over the last, say, 2 months, and just display any fields that are questionable. If they're not being populated, you know that they're likely not going to be of much use going forward.
Okay.
And of course, before you are going to delete any information, you're going to want to make sure that you have an export and a backup of it, so that just in case it does need to be restored for any reason.
Okay. I've just been informed we have a long line outside who are waiting to come in. So what we can do, if you have any questions, I can come outside with you and spend a few minutes with you if you do have any additional questions. Okay. Apologies, we're running out of time, but if you want to hang around outside in a couple of minutes, I'll pop out.